Hello and welcome. You are listening to The Hello You Show. I'm your host, Jessica Rice, and the founder of Jessica Rice Coaching. This show is for ambitious and visionary-minded women leaders and entrepreneurs ready to uplevel their impact and establish their personal brand and unique voice. It's time, ladies, to make our voices heard. Say hello again to the real you. So, welcome to this new podcast, The Hello You Show, where we talk about all things related to women, authenticity, and bringing your true self forward as you pursue a greater career and leaving a legacy of impact and passion and purpose. Today, I want to talk to you about success guilt. And I feel like it's something that, as people who've worked in, say, tech jobs or professional corporate types of jobs start to experience as you start to move up the ladder or climb, into roles that typically seem like cushy roles or things that you've had your, eyes set on for some time, and inadvertently start to recognize that what you thought the role was going to be or how you felt your life was going to be when you got into such a role isn't exactly that way. And I think this is an important topic to talk about because so often women find themselves pushing forward in their careers, looking to up-level and grow and prove themselves time and time and time again. And we find out that it's just unending. And this whole cycle of pushing to, pursue our dreams, pursue our goals, prove ourselves, the persistence that's required within there, it starts to take a toll on us and it becomes draining and we become stressed out and burnt out and just frankly tired. And I don't think that it's quite everything that it's cracked up to be when we first embark on our jobs. When we start in our careers, we're very excited, right? It's exciting to move into something that's new that you've been working towards. Maybe it was in college, you've been working so hard towards something, or maybe it's transitioning from one job to another and finally landing your quote unquote dream role. And I think as we start to move up, we start to recognize that there's a lot more politics involved. There's a lot more issues that we, never really, what am I say? We didn't take that into account. It wasn't explained to us. It wasn't brought out. And so we find ourselves in a situation that we didn't really fully anticipate. So even if you're in a management role, leadership role, director role, if you're a principal, lead technical architect, you find yourself in the weeds of politics, in trying to leverage your communication styles and technical expertise or expertise in your field. And it's becoming more and more challenging, more exhausting as you're competing with people within that same bracket, And then oftentimes as women too, I feel like we get passed over relatively easily. I talk to a lot of clients who experience this. I'm not saying that women don't make their way into leadership. More and more women are, but that's not necessarily the end goal. So we've made it to leadership, and then what? Everything comes true. Our dreams come true. We are super, super happy. Not usually. A lot of the clients that I work with, that's not what we're experiencing. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We're working longer hours. We're trading more of our time away from our family, away from our kids. We're having to justify decisions that we're making towards our careers in sacrifice with our families and our health and all of the things that we decide not to do for ourselves. And so it's harder and harder to be the woman that we once were. And maybe this is you, but I feel like it starts to become a real pattern in the sense of, who was I? How did I get here? And how do I find my way back to myself and to the person and the woman that I once was? Where are all those dreams? Where are all those things that I wanted and I loved? And on the very same token, we experience something called guilt. See, in this whole process, we're supposed to experience gratitude, right, for the things that have, we've received and have been given to us, the opportunities that have been paved along our way. And what can start to happen is we're not quite feeling the gratitude when our boss demands that we work an extra 4 hours this evening on a case or a feature that we're going to have to push out for the next week. And then we have to work with our teams and become the type of person that we detest and get them on the ball and working extra hours and harder and pushing them harder and having those tough conversations and, just getting more out of people. I don't know if that's really what any of us wanted or signed up for. And so then we start making those sacrifices and we start to feel that work guilt or that success guilt because you should be happy with the success that you've achieved. You should be happy with the salary that you currently have. You should be happy with the fact that you are gainfully employed and have a steady income and have insurance and benefits and stock options. You should be happy with all of those things. And when you're not, there comes the golden handcuffs where you feel tied and attached and indebted to your company, to your role, to all of the time and effort that you've put into getting to where you are in your career, only to find that it just really isn't everything that you thought it would be. It's not bringing that ultimate freedom and happiness and joy into your life. And maybe even at this point, you're looking to, how do I create more meaning in my life? How do I up-level my impact? How do I create something with my life that has purpose and value, where I'm actually leaving a legacy that I can be proud of and not just something that will disappear as soon as I'm gone? And I think those are questions that start to come up for women as we're starting to, age and grow within our careers and reach a certain level. And so what once was exciting doesn't have the same level of clout. It doesn't have the same level of anticipation. We know exactly what the next path might be for us if we stay where we are. Those are not braving into the wilderness, so to speak, in terms of if I stay on this specific career path. It's more so braving the wilderness, as Brene would say. Where am I taking myself that's going to be daring, that's going to lead me down a path and a road that brings meaning and value and change into my life? And so if you've ever experienced that type of, work guilt or success guilt, I'd love to hear from you because I think this is so important. We need to talk about this more because just because we have something that many others might look at us, on the other side and everything seems perfect, doesn't necessarily mean that it is. And it's okay to acknowledge what we're experiencing. And it's okay to start wanting more in our life and demanding more in our lives. I think that oftentimes we end up feeling like we have to stay where we are because of all of the things that we've done to get here. Instead of looking at it like, okay, what's the next door? Where is this leading me to? And how can I leverage these skills and expertise in an even greater way that may not even be on this current trajectory that you're on? So considering all of these things, I'm just curious, have you experienced success or work guilt? Have you experienced a guilt or frustration with the fact that you feel stuck? You don't feel heard, and you're really wondering, you've got a certain amount of time between now and retirement, and what are you going to do? How are you going to fix this feeling inside of yourself? And is it something that you actually need to fix? Do you need to be fixed? Is there anything wrong with you? And I would think not. There isn't anything wrong with you because you're feeling this way. What's happening is corporations are expecting more with less. They're demanding more of our time and our energy and our thoughts and our expertise, and we're pouring more and more and more of ourselves with less and less and less resources, less pay, less opportunities. And so while even more and more women are making their way up into the leadership ranks, it doesn't necessarily equal, leadership equals happiness or success equals happiness. It really means that we need to figure out as women, what's that next chapter of our life and what's that going to look like? And how do we take the knowledge and expertise that we have and turn that into something that we can then create more impact, more freedom, and more meaning? And whether that's in another role, changing careers, transitioning, up leveling in a different capacity, starting your own business, becoming a founder, creating a nonprofit organization. There's a multitude of ways to bring that fulfillment out. But it's about uncovering what that is. And rather than just living with, the drudgery of going into work every single day, knowing that you're unhappy and yet feeling like there's something wrong with you, or that you should be feeling happier, or you just feel tied to a job that you just no longer love. So let me know if you've felt like this before. I'd love to hear from you. Please reach out either in the comments, depending on where you're watching this, or DM me, find me, email me. I think this is a really important topic that we need to bring to light more, because just because we have a job doesn't mean that we're lucky. And I think that women fall into this pattern a little bit easier. And especially if you're in a role where you're having to make a lot of compromises for yourself, it's really easy to start seeing parallels between toxic relationships and toxic jobs and the roles that women have to fill to make it work. And then what happens to that is that we start to feel degraded over time when we're having to fulfill toxic expectations of ourselves, our teams, and those around us, and how that feeds into our personal lives. This is a whole mess of things that we have to start to uncover when we're thinking about what we're carrying around every single day when we are going into our works and we're not feeling fulfilled. And if you are, fantastic. You have found something that truly moves and inspires you. But I really want to shed light on the people who don't always feel that way. And they don't always speak up about it because maybe they feel that they can't, or that they shouldn't, or that they're not grateful for what they've been given or what they have received. And that's not a truth. That's living in a false sense of identity and a false sense of self, when you need to uncover what's there underneath that is longing to come out, and how do you leverage that in a greater way? Because there's so much beauty in there and so much knowledge and wisdom that has come forth through your career and through all of those years where you've done so many different things. And how can you tap into that knowledge and that expertise more so and find opportunities that then align with what it is that you feel you are here to do and present and provide and be in service to? So I just wanted to share those thoughts with you today. I'm looking forward to continuing with this podcast and sharing more of these types of conversations, bringing on some more guests. I hope that I can, meet some of you, and please reach out. I'd love to hear some topics or ideas or things that you would like brought to attention and discussed. Again, my name is Jessica Rice. I'm founder of Jessica Rice Coaching. I love serving and helping other women leaders and visionaries who are looking to create an impact and a difference in their lives. I have a background in design, technology, and leadership, which is how I moved into coaching, and which is why I'm so passionate about helping others find their voice and find their path forward. I look forward to connecting with you in other ways. And so, see you next time.